How JVM invokes a garbage collection. JVM also invokes the garbage collection by using the final method, finalize. Okay, this is a method. Okay, we have to use to invoke garbage collection. In turn, this finalize method invokes system.gc. System.gc. This is a method to clear unused memory in the runtime. GC means garbage collection. This is what we are discussing. But practically, we can't see whether the memory has been deleted or not. But internally, it basically removes all unused memory by the garbage collection. Okay, by the garbage collection. Yeah, here you can see, just right click, run as Java. So in turn, it invokes system.gc. System.gc does not have any kind of implementation. We simply have to invoke this method system.gc. It collects all the garbage. Okay, I mean the memory which is in waste, the objects which are occupied by a lot of memory, and this memory gets deleted in a runtime. So coming to the next topic, exception handling. What is exception handling in Java? Exception handling is very useful with respect to testing of an application. So that's why we are learning exception handling in Java. Exception handling.
Sir,
What is exception handling?
getting some disturbance, sir.
Okay, I just switched off the fan. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So exception handling. What is exception handling? See, what is exception? Exception is nothing but there is an unforeseen event happened in runtime. Okay, in runtime or compile time, we never expected. We never expected. Okay, so such kind of events happen. So these events actually nothing but exceptions. Few exceptions like arithmetic exceptions. Okay, and then null pointer exceptions. Okay, and then array out of bounds exception. And then if you take Selenium, okay, no such element exception, no such element exception. Okay, so arithmetic exceptions, and then array index out of bounds exception, and then we also see number format exception. Sometimes we do convert one format to another format, right? So by mistake we try to convert the string into integer, then we do get exception called a number format exception, right? So what is arithmetic exception? What is arithmetic exception? See, if you try to divide by zero, it is an exception, right? I'll give one simple example. Divide by 0, 12 divided by 0. So what is the value it will get? We do get actually. We can't divide with 0. It always return infinite value. Infinite value we can't define infinite value. Hence, Java, okay, raises an exception called divide by zero. These exceptions has to be handled in your program. Why we need to handle? I will give one simple example. Class, okay, class A contains, okay, contains okay, integer array. Okay, we are just creating a new array, new integer of 5. Okay, but we try to assign some value to an array at a 10. Okay, so this is a very simple program. This is a very simple program. Okay, so we have another method called okay, public void set array. Okay, so this array we try to set some value to an array. Okay, that's it. So tell me, where is the error in our code? See, initially we have declared and okay, and defined an array. We have declared and at the same time we have defined an array. See, this is the index value. The index value is 5. That means it can store up to 6 values if the index value starts from a 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what we are doing in the next step, we are trying to assign or set some value at the index value 10. But while defining an array, we are just giving only 5. So programmatically, there is an error. What kind of error it is? It is a array index out of bounds exception. So this is nothing but exception. Okay, this is nothing but an exception. Coming to number format, for suppose there is a integer value, integer, okay, id equals to integer dot parse int of, okay, g1. So just assume g1 is a student, but we try to convert g1 into an id. Is it possible? First of all, is it possible? G1 is a string, but id is an integer. We can't parse okay, g1 into integer type. Hence, we get an error. What kind of exception would you get? Get an exception called number format exception. Is it clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, we get a lot of exceptions like string index out of bound exception. We create a string and we try to fetch a value. We try to fetch a value at okay, the index value which is not at all available. Best example, I'll just give you string. Okay, message equals to hi, how are you? How are you? Okay, but we try to fetch at an index value some 70, index value at 70, character c equals to, okay, message dot, okay, character at of 0. That's fine, absolutely fine. There is no error with this code. Okay, what about now? What is the length of a message actually? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the length of the message is 10 only, but we try to fetch the value at 40. So again, we get an error. What kind of error it is actually? String index out of bounds exception. Strings out of bounds exception. Okay. So these are the various exceptions. Coming to the null pointer. What is a null pointer? Pointer means what? In C, you might have heard about pointers. Pointers are used to refer the address of the variable. Okay. So integer a equals to 10. Okay. Integer star p is a pointer type. P equals to address of a. Okay, how to refer actually? How to refer the value of stored in a variable A? We simply use star p, right? System dot out dot print ln of star p. Automatically it prints the value of 10, value which is stored at a variable called A. But we can't implement in Java. But I'm just explaining what is pointer. Coming to null pointer, what is null pointer? Null pointer means you have assigned a null value. We can't refer the value. We have already assigned a null to the particular variable. We can't refer. That's what it is saying actually. I will give one simple example. Okay, string. Okay, string some str. Okay, str equals to null. Basically, we are nullifying. Nullifying means we are killing an object. Okay, after that, what we are doing, we try to use a built-in method called string.length. Okay, system dot out dot println of str.length. Is it possible? First of all, because the memory which we have allocated to str, it is already removed by assigning a null value. Okay, see, an object of this class gets created whenever a member is invoked with a null object. Okay, so here what is length? Length is the function which should be used on an object. But what happened? But we just nullified an object, string type. So it is not an object. It is not at all an object. If you don't assign null, it is considered as an object. But we are just assigned a null value. Hence, it is not at all considered as an object. Let's see with few examples. Okay, the same examples you can take. Okay, exceptions. Is it clear? First of all, just let me know if you have any questions. What is exception? Okay, how many type of exceptions are there? Yeah.
Arithmetic, null
Yes.
pointer, number format exception,
Yes.
string outbound, out of bound exception.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct. And finally, divide by zero exception. Divide by zero
Yeah.
exception. Array out of bounds, null pointer, number format, strings out of bounds. So these are the frequently used exceptions. So these are exceptions. Then how do we handle? We need to handle, right? See, we are executing a program. Suddenly you got an exception in your program. As a programmer, you need to handle this exception. That's why we are calling it as an exception handling. How do you handle? Java basically provides a wonderful structure to handle exceptions. Okay, what are those exceptions that we'll see? Try block. Okay, then we have catch blocks. Okay, another catch block. Okay, finally block. Look at the structure. Try means what? So it indicates that we are trying for exceptions in the piece of code. That means here we need to place piece of code or block of code. So we are trying for exceptions in a block of code. If you caught any exception, we have to catch. That means you have to handle it. So there is an exception called a null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. What is null pointer exception? This null pointer exception is already defined under exceptions class in a Java. Okay, null pointer exception is already defined. We are simply using an object called E. We have created an object for null pointer exception, and this is E. We are just using a method called print stack trace. Okay, otherwise you can simply give your own implementation. That means we are handling it. We are handling it actually. Okay. So it's also called as a arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, and so on. So how to print actually? You can give simply use a system.out.println. Okay. Got null pointer exception. Okay, you got a null pointer exception. So if you want to print it stack trace, that also possible by using e dot print stack trace. You can fetch all the details of the exception. Is it clear? Yeah. And what about other catch block? See, we have a block of code, but this block of code can contain multiple exceptions, right? If you think this is a piece of code, how many exceptions are there? Here we are getting an array index out of bounds. Here we are getting a string format exception or integer formatting exception. Here we are getting a string index out of bounds exception. Here we are getting a null pointer exception. See, we don't know how many exceptions may arise in a block of code. Hence, we have to handle by using the multiple catch blocks. This is a null pointer. This is a arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. Okay, and we implement a handler inside a catch block, and then finally, what is final? What is finally? Finally, finally function or method gets invoked irrespective of the exception. That means an exception may arise, may not arise, but I want to execute a few lines of code before going to end the execution. Then we have to create a finalize method. Finalize method basically used to get executed before ending the execution of your main code. Okay, so this is all about try, multiple catch blocks, and finally, right? Shall we implement now?
Yeah.
So this is a syntax. This is a syntax of exception handling in Java. Okay. Yes, I'm going to create try block inside it main method. We are trying to create try. Okay, and then we have a catch block. Okay, yeah. Okay, and then final. Okay, it's not taking now. Let me first demonstrate try catch. Then we'll see catch block. Okay, in try block, I'm just giving integer. Okay, id equals to integer dot parse. Int of g1. Okay, g1. Then system dot out dot println of okay. So catch block. See catch block of system error on token formal parameter expected. So we have to provide a formal parameter. See without parameter it doesn't allow. So I have to provide a formal parameter. What type of parameter it accepts? It accepts exception type. Okay. Number format exception. Okay. Number format exception E. Said that. Okay. So system dot out dot println of okay the number format exception as method. Okay, that's it. System. Clear? So similarly, there's an exception. This is a string format exception. There is another piece of code. Here, what we are going to do, we are just dividing with 0. Okay. There's another integer number, okay, equals to 10. Okay. And then another number 1 equals to 0. We try to divide a number, okay, divided with the number 1. See, integer output equals to number divided by number 1. Okay. Now tell me what's the output we do get actually. System is okay output. Okay. So what kind of exception we do get actually? We do get a arithmetic exception. All mathematical exceptions comes under a single class called arithmetic exception. So I'm just going to write one more catch block. Okay, arithmetic exception. So yeah, I'm just going to arithmetic exception. Try. Okay. Okay. So again, I'm just going to include a one more code. So index now, we'll see index. Okay. Index are very simple integer array. Okay. Equals to new integer of 5. Okay. So we have just declared and defined an array size 5, but we try to add a array of 10 equals to 100. Okay. So see, are you able to see any error here? Syntactically correct, but in runtime what happens? We get an exception called a array index out of bounds exception. Okay, again we have to handle it again. How to handle again? We will include one more catch block here. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Okay, this is actually, it is a array index out of bound exception. Clear? Array index out of bounds exception. Where is this? Yeah, it is inside lang, java.lang, and array index out of bounds exception. Clear? Okay. So far we have seen 4 indexes. Now coming to the number format that we know already, but try to run this program first. Okay. So string out of bounds also same. Number format we have seen, and string okay, index out of bounds seen, and then null pointer. Very important thing is null pointer. Okay. See, first we have created a string. A string class we have defined, and the string underscore name. Okay. And then string underscore name equals to null. Okay, null. Now try to print system.out.println of length. Okay, the length of the string is okay. So string underscore name dot length, length. Length. Okay. Again, we are not getting any error. See, we are not getting an error. But once you start executing, you'll get an error. So what is the type of exception it is? It is string. So it is a null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. Null pointer. Okay, null pointer exception. Very good, right? So is it clear? Just let me know if you have any questions. This is a syntax for a catch block. Let me know if you have any questions so I can take it up. Okay. Yeah. Let me execute and see. Just right click, run as Java application. Okay. The number format exception has occurred. Okay. Why? The first and foremost block is here. You can see here itself our test is, our program got an exception. So immediately go to the exception, number format exception, it has executed and come out. Okay, if you comment this, then it will go to the divide by 0 exception. If you comment the third block also, second block also, then it will go to the array index out of bounds exception. Okay, this is how you have to handle exceptions in a Java. Then coming to finally, what is finally? Okay, finally, I just want to execute a piece of code here. Finally, the code inside finally class. Ctrl S. Now just try to execute this code again. And just try to execute this code. See, now you can see two statements. First exception number format, then go to the finally, the code inside finally class gets executed. What is finally block? Finally block contains all the crucial statement that must be executed whether exception occurs or not. Okay, finally block contains all the crucial statements that must be executed whether the exception occurs or not. Basically, the statement present in this block will always execute regardless of whether exception occur in try block or not. Okay, when to use this actually in our actual project implementation, we need to close all the databases and streamings and so on. Close all the files. If there are any files opened, we need to close all the files. So the piece of code has to be there inside a finally block that basically handles all the critical and crucial activities of the project. So this is all about finally block. Try block, where statement that may cause an exception. So these are statements that may cause an exception. Statements that may cause an exception. And catch block. Okay, handling an exception. We're handling exception here. Handling an exception. And then finally block. Statements to be executed. The block should have a statement that is mandatory to execute. Statements to be executed. Okay. So this is all about exceptions. Just let me know if you have any questions.